It's also important to view what your competitors are doing from a community perspective, what communities they're involved in, and then again go cross-platform and cross-geography. There's a lot of tools that you can use that are free, some free and some that you buy for monitoring kind of the digital landscape, and I've put a few there. I think it's really important when you're looking at global campaigns to recognize that there are obviously geographic differences in the way people communicate and socialize online. This is a map which actually comes from Many Eyes, which is one of IBM's research groups, and it's user-generated content, but it shows the different social networks which are popular throughout the world. And I think when we're working in the UK and certainly North America, you get very focused on what you're using and what people around you are using. But I think when you're looking at global campaigns and global communities, it's important to see where people are communicating and congregating online. So, for example, you know, the green there is Facebook, and you know, in parts of the Middle East, it's Maktub. Orkut is very popular in South America, and you can see in China and so forth, it kind of spans differently throughout the world. This is a user-generated map, so as such, there are a few mistakes on it, but it does give a good indication of what's out there from a social network perspective. Also, it's important to look at what are the different platforms where you can potentially build your communities, and ultimately you want to be able to cross-pollinate your efforts to make sure they have great impact. And I think it's also very important to look at how people are getting their information. So not everyone is online in the, you know, on a broadband connection at home. In fact, only 5% of the people around the world have broadband at home. And in China, The Economist reported last year that 29% of all internet users in the country use mobile phones to access the internet. So when you're looking at global campaigns, it's really critical to be looking at other platforms as well, and other ways, as you mentioned, in Egypt and places where people don't necessarily have access to the platforms. It's also important to listen and strategize. I mean, you know, traditionally in PR, we think of developing the messages and sending those out to people, but rather we need to kind of turn that around, and because the messaging should actually stem from the communities that exist out there. When we work on global campaigns, we typically will provide a global framework based on the monitoring and messaging that we've uncovered, and then create localized content with our partners in local regions. But also it's important to strategize. You may not need to create a community. You may be able to leverage existing communities, and you should be leveraging existing communities in your efforts. And then again, just cross-pollinating and linking. And then finally, to engage and be relevant. I mean, this was a very important point for the journalists who are on our panel. The Huffington Post, they were making an effort to move from kind of a left-wing political blogging site to be more global in their perspective. And so what they did was when they were trying to move into Pakistan, they did a kind of a crowdsourcing where they asked people to come and report for them in Pakistan. And so they were able to get a lot of great local journalists who came forward and who are reporting on a daily basis in their communities and actually start contributing to the Huffington Post. It's also again, tailoring to the different devices, and then making your communities and your information engaging and participatory. So when you do see the Huffington Post, you'll see a lot of images and videos and ways that people can communicate back. And so offering, tweet this and that sort of thing.
So if you want to create a community, if you want to manage a community, if you want to emulate a community, please do not manage the community. Let the community manage itself. That's one of the most important things. A lot of people are missing or failing in organizing communities because they are just, they look at the mirror, they build the nest, and then they feed the birds and they control the birds. So the community is dying at the moment of people want to control them. Why teenagers are so active in communities? For two reasons, the same reason. Think about the mirror, think about the nest. First of all, because the mirror community understand me while adults do not. This is one key point. I've got teenagers at home and I can tell you, I understand them, but they don't know that I understand them. But I can tell you I understand them. But they believe, they've got a strong belief that the only people that will be able to understand them are teenagers themselves. So they want to enter communities because they want to find and to live this kind of mirror aspect in their lives. So they are finding on the internet people that will understand them, and they understand their lives, their passion for music, their passion for gothics, their passion for cartoons, and they will find people, which is a quest that all teenagers have. Less adults have this quest, but teenagers have this quest on a day-to-day basis, every morning, every day of their lives. The second thing is that, regarding the nest, is that you have to know that the web is the easiest and most comfortable place to before leaving home. It's an incredible, comfortable home. They feel that they are living an adventure outside of home, outside of the parents that do not understand them. So they go to the internet, which is comfortable. They've got a very beautiful house. Mom is doing cooking, and daddy is doing cooking as well. I love to cook. And big house, big bedroom, sports, cars, friends, holidays. But when they are on the internet, they feel that they escape from this world and they are living an independent life. And in that perspective, internet is the first step for teenagers before going out. And amazingly enough, if you're looking at sociology studies regarding internet usage, there's a peak down, well, not a peak, there's a slowdown after 20 years old. They will be using the net more and more and more and more when they are teenagers, and from 20 to 25, let's say, there's a slowdown in terms of community adoption, blogging, and Web 2.0. Why? Maybe because they have been living home and they don't need again the same kind of nest or the same kind of experience. And that's very, very interesting. Well, I think it is very interesting.